Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Mess. So, today we're continuing series. Is that an analog in your pocket? Are you just happy to see me? And today we're talking about the recent Bionic Commando core added to the Analogue Pocket. This came over from Jotego and his team. It was a Mr. core that's now been ported over to Pocket about 2 weeks ago, and I'm finally getting a chance to take a look at it. Bionic Commando is an absolute ton of fun, but oh, is it a frustrating game, and oh, are you going to die so many times. Before we get too far involved, though, to be a huge favor, go down below, hit like and subscribe, and ring that notification bell. Definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, you got a Patreon link down below as well. But Bionic Commando is an absolutely classic Capcom arcade game that's had a ton of sequels and ports, but it got its start here on a 68,000 Motorola based arcade board. You'll see right off the top, I did just die there. You're going to have so many hit points, and if you hit absolutely anything, you are going to come back from the top of the screen parachuting in. And honestly, the name of this game is navigating the world around you. For a lot of times, it's ill-advised to actually attack the enemies. You really just kind of want to move around them, because the faster you get to the end of the stage, the sooner you get to move on with the game. So sometimes combat can definitely be to your detriment. And obviously you have that grappling arm right there, which is the core mechanic of the game. You can go up and down, you can swing left to right. It really does open up a lot of freedom of movement, but the game will definitely troll you. That branch just broke, I died and got pushed further down the screen. So if you are going to die in Bionic Commando, and trust me, you're going to die a lot, try not to fall at the same time. You can definitely lose some progress, and you'll see here, kind of trying to find the right path around. Sometimes going down can actually be useful, or you can use the swinging mechanic as well. Now, I'm not going to say Bionic Commando is a cheap game. It is not. It is just something like Ghouls and Ghosts level hard. Capcom was notorious for just absolutely destroying the player back in the day, and Bionic Commando, at least for me, is that same level of difficulty. But tell me down below if you find this game easy, normal, or hard. For me, there's just something about that one hit mechanic where you take a hit and you are dead that just always gets me. You will see that I'm able to pick some power-ups up as they come down the screen, but you need to shoot that little parachute to make sure they land, and if you take one hit, anything in there is going to be gone, and a lot of times they're just going to be point-up systems, so they really aren't going to help you in the combat. But as far as the Analogue Pocket implementation here is concerned, if there's any issues with the game whatsoever, I cannot detect them. I played Bionic Commando enough that if there's any graphical glitches or sound issues, I would have seen or heard them, and at least here today, this is something that I think just looks perfect. But you'll see there, once the enemies do group up on you, that is when you're going to have a hard time, because the larger the enemy, the more shots they take, and the more you have to shoot, and they are closing in on you fast, so stay away from the enemies. Consider this more of like an action platformer and less like a Metal Slug style run and gun, and you will succeed more, because you'll see there, even while trying to press the button for fire as quick as I could, the enemy closed in and totally killed me. And I love this one character right here who's basically cosplaying as Donkey Kong, throwing these boxes at you. They kind of look like file bin boxes, but maybe they're steel girders, but I've always just assumed that he is throwing out all of the company's paperwork because the federal government is coming for them. I have no idea who the enemy is in this game, but let's just assume the IRS is after them, and he was throwing all sorts of different records they couldn't have a chance to burn down off that tower. All jokes aside, we're going to jump into stage 3, and now suddenly we're going to start getting some gremlins in the game. Inexplicably, they kind of just look like the gremlins from the movie. I don't know why they're in this sewer, but I guess if there was a place gremlins would live, it would be down here. Now, this is not a long game. Once you get good at it, you can beat the entire thing in like 12 to 13 minutes, which is going to be a fun time. So it is the perfect type of game to be set up on the Analogue Pocket screen. You just take out your Pocket, you play on the subway, on the train, on a plane, and within 15 minutes you've had an entire gaming experience. Just be prepared again to die a lot, but if you do practice and learn this game, it's something that you could probably get to a 1cc on pretty quickly once you understand and memorize all of the level layouts and the enemy patterns. And this game also has an awesome soundtrack that sounds great coming out of the Analogue Pocket FPGA core, so go ahead and listen for like 45 seconds and I'll come back and show you more Bionic Commando on the Analogue Pocket and why you should be excited to play it and play it this weekend. But enjoy, because the music is great. A lot of chiptune reverb in there in the best way possible, and you'll see here we come to what seems like a little bitty quasi boss fight. These guards in the white here are going to take the most amount of bullets, and they're going to be the most difficult to deal with outside of some of the tankier enemies towards the end. But you'll see here now the game gives us more mechanics. We have to shoot these buttons to make sure we can lift up this door, and you're going to have to go into multiple different areas to do so, the top and the bottom. But finally we do have a powered up weapon, and you want to try to keep these for as long as possible. This weapon will kill some of the harder enemies in one shot, where you'd expect to get 3 shots with your standard gun. But you'll see there he fired that flamethrower right through the door. Do be aware that the enemies can do that. This is just old school difficult. Capcom back in the day absolutely just punished the players and you enjoyed it. Something like Mega Man, something like Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers, Bionic Commando, those games were all exceedingly hard, whether they were in the arcades or if they were on the NES. And that's just because back in the day, these games only lasted for like 15-20 minutes if you were good at them. So they upped the difficulty as high as they possibly could to make sure that you couldn't just see the end of the game within 15 minutes, especially if you bought an NES cart. You would be absolutely bummed out if you beat the game in under 12 minutes. I know I would have been. And of course it's not going to be an arcade game if there's not some sort of elevator sequence in here somewhere. Pretty much every beat 'em up or running gun's gotta have an elevator, and Bionic Commando is no different. But I will say again, this looks great on the Analogue Pocket. Jotego and his team are always making awesome arcade cores, and Bionic Commando is no different. It's kind of interesting that it took a while to come over to Pocket from Mr. FPGA, but it is here today, and most of Jotego's cores at this point in time are multi-platform. I can't really think of anything that's on Mr. that hasn't yet made its way over to Pocket, but if you can think about anything, let me know. And tell me what other arcade cores you'd love to see soon. Jotego is still developing the System 18 for both Mr. and Analogue Pocket, and that is awesome, but I'm curious to hear what else you'd love to see. For me, System 32, if it's possible, would be the one thing I would love to see come to Pocket as well as Mr. FPGA. But we're at the end of Stage 4, and we can finally move to Stage 5, which is definitely the hardest and most difficult stage in the entire game, so I will run it straight from start to finish. But I'm going to give you one more sound sample because the last track in this game is probably the best in the game. I'll be back in like 25 seconds and we'll see how Bionic Commando ends. But enjoy! Awesome music, and for some strange reason that reminds me a little bit of the soundtrack to Sonic the Hedgehog 2. There's something about the looping beat in there that always makes me think that it is a pivot on something Sega did, but obviously this game came before that. And basically on the last stage we have to get all the way to the top of this tower in a certain amount of time. If you don't make it with the time, you'll see what happens. And this is Bionic Commando's last troll to the player. This area is just absolutely lousy with enemies. They're everywhere, and if you even so much as touch one, you are going to die and have to do it all over again. They jump up, they jump down, and this was Capcom making sure that they were going to get those last couple of quarters off you before you saw the ending, and you'll see that countdown has started here. But again, it's just so much fun to get these new arcade cores on Analogue Pocket, and it's these smaller arcade games, the ones that last 15 minutes, that really show what the Analogue Pocket is the best at, that bite-sized gaming on the go. Because sure, you can load up a Super Nintendo game, you could load up Chrono Trigger and start playing, but if you just want to have a satisfying gaming experience in that 15-minute commute, arcade games definitely give that to you. But tell me what your favorite arcade core on the entirety of the Analogue Pocket is. I would be curious. For me, it's definitely going to be the Capcom CPS2. But having Bionic Commando is just one more awesome core on an already awesome handheld that just keeps getting better, and I can't wait to see what the back half of 2024 brings, because Jotego and his team are absolutely always bringing us new stuff. Now if you don't get up here quick enough, or you don't do the right thing, and this is intentional, once that countdown timer runs out, it's going to send you right back to the beginning of the stage, and that is Bionic Commando's last troll. But definitely update your pockets and make sure you have this core. Give it a shot. I think there's a lot to love here, but be prepared to die. Bye bye.